Bernalillo Public Schools honors the historic homelands of the Pueblo people, ownership contributions of the Pueblo and descendants of Spanish settlers, established by group communities now and in the future.
Secretary, can you do a roll call, please?
Yes, President. Member Boulay.
Present.
Member Martinez.
Present.
Secretary Sweeney present, Vice President, Corey Chavez, present, President Madrid.
Present.
Mr. President, we have a quorum.
Thank you. Mr. Superintendent, with the dissemination of announcement date and time for holding this meeting done in accordance.
Mr. President, members of the board, yes, it was.
Item number 6, board members, are we all in agreement on the two content? Yes.
Yes.
Mr. Superintendent, would you mind introducing our guests?
Mr. President, members of the board, we'll start by introducing, and I actually can't see the names on there, but I'll introduce who's online, which is Anthony Sanchez, who's actually sitting right outside it. Who's helping us with our technology. And then Tina Robinson, who is an educational assistant at Carroll Elementary School. They're online. And then what we'll ask is everybody in the room, if you'll stand and introduce yourself and who you represent, what you represent, anything around that. Starting with Officer Thompson in the back.
Good evening, Officer Thompson, the Bernalillo High School.
We have a partner here. Wait, we have a partner.
We got Steven here.
Karen Herrera, I'm the coach team, I work at Alpha.
Brandy Cummins, I'm reading interventionist at Alabama Elementary. Hi, I'm Meredith Oliva, I teach for the fifth and the Zebras.
Hi everyone, I'm Patrice Grant, I'm a school counselor at Algodones Elementary.
Hello, everyone. I'm Mary Schnauz. I'm the school social worker at Algodones Elementary. Los Angeles Montoya, principal at Algodones Elementary.
Kevin Durant, the construction coordinator for the district.
Let's start with Jennifer and then we'll work with back to another guest.
Good evening, Jennifer Lamino, the activities coordinator at Bernalillo High School.
David Melcher, a student at Bernalillo High School.
Principal Bernalillo High School.
Good evening, Ira March, athletic director of the school.
I am Jackson Morrell. My three daughters go to Prestigious Elementary.
Lucinda Zamora, my daughter, I think that's how much.
Dave Smelter, former Bernalillo High School coach, basketball player, now retired. Attending and my grandkids, Lorraine and David. Deshana.
Dejana Garcia, parent of Jaden Melcher.
Buenas tardes, soy Guadalupe Molina, custodian del distrito.
Good afternoon, Brenda Molina, secretary at Carroll Elementary.
Blessed evening. I'm Erickson Macapuno, 7th grade math teacher, Spartan Learning Academy.
Good evening, I'm Eric James, Deputy Superintendent of Business Services.
Good evening, Terry Renaud, Deputy Superintendent of Operations.
Good evening, everybody. Gwen Maldonado, Deputy Superintendent of Leadership.
I'm Joanne Barley. I'm the data coordinator for the district and the sub for Sandy Darnell. And we hope this goes well.
John Durant, represent District 2, which is something that
Cordelia Chavez, supporting represent District
for, but ultimately it's all the whole district of Berlin folks.
Mike Archbeck, District 3, Algodones and Placitas, so welcome. I know you're in the house. Yeah.
Kwartse Hopa, when you want Nessa, Isi Hamdam Shita, Cookie Tema Osita. My name is Christine Swina, I represent District 1. From Coach Pablo and represent San Felipe and Lampadera Sila.
Good evening, Matt Muldowney, the superintendent for the district of Berlin Public.
I'm Paul Madrid, represent some of the school board or all of the district. Thank you guys for coming. Next item is recognitions. Mr. Superintendent, oh, sorry, I jumped ahead. So, did anybody sign up for public comment?
Not that I'm aware of unless somebody signed up in the back there.
Want me to go look?
Ms. Lilgard, did anybody sign up for public comment in the back?
No.
Okay.
So we do have one announcement from school board members. So we're good at it.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. I just want to acknowledge that this month is Suicide Awareness Month. And particularly in our state, suicide still remains in the top 10 causes of death, and actually the second leading cause for the students that we serve in that age range. And just acknowledge to our staff the critical work that they do in providing our students with support to change outcomes. Those numbers are really high, but I can't imagine what they would be without the care that you guys provide to our students. So just social worker, acknowledge those individuals. Thank you.
Ms. Olivas has done some work with supporting that particular issue around Ms. Olivas. We do this every year. Can you talk a little bit about what you do to support?
So I lost my daughter to suicide. And so since then I have, helped teenagers in schools. I work with Bernalillo schools. I work with Manzano schools. And I provide care bags and scholarships to students that are struggling. I just took a bunch to the middle school. And they just have, inspiring messages, snacks, just to kind of lift their spirits and hopefully it helps. So if anybody in here ever needs, bags or any sort of support, can find me through the district. I work at Placido. Thank you, Mr.
Before it's good, just want to acknowledge Lorelei Chavez from San Domingo board members. If you have an opportunity, she has a board up in the hallway where students are placing comments on to each other of encouragement in an attempt to intervene for students who are in crisis. And it is amazing to see what these students are writing to their peers on that. I encourage you to take a visit and look at them. Thank you for us.
Thank you. Thank you. Item number 9 would be recognitions. Mr. McClellan.
Mr. President, members of the board, we have our normal recognitions, but we also have some additional recognitions. And I want to start with recognition of some individuals that aren't normally part of our process. Ask this person to be here to do something different, as we always do, try to play tricks on people. But one of the things that we've seen in our schools, and I know that Mr. Wallace is going to do a safety presentation later, leading the effort for the district in improving all of the safety areas for the school district. And as you guys have authorized as a board for us to put money to fortify our schools, Mr. Wallace continues to do all of that work, do the training, make sure that we're doing all of that. But I think one of the biggest partners that we had in the school district is Officer Jimmy Thompson. He's been a great partner to us in developing processes. He thought he was going to be here to do a presentation. Actually, what he asked me is, did you think that you were going to have somebody that was going to be really angry at the board meeting? What do I need to be prepared for? But Officer Thompson, I know that you go in and I seen you in action. I happened to be in a lockdown with Miss Alisa Sanchez Padilla when you went in and you completely gave your personal self to responding to that, not knowing what you're getting into. This is not just for that, this is because we do it every day. And I also know that we have some kids that struggle. And you know who those kids are, and you don't use force on them, you're able to talk them down. A lot of times they're calling for you to be able to talk down some of the most difficult kids. Really proud to have you. You're a former student, you're a Burnley High School graduate, congratulations. Remember, we're taking pictures all together.
You gotta step down those. Yeah. And I'll fix it. I'll really get that.
All right. 1, 2, 3. Thank you.
John, you can get.
I think we should stay on.
You know, this one's. I'm gonna go what I was gonna.
Before we move on, I want to, from the board, Mr. Officer Thompson. Before you step away from the board, I'd like to thank you personally. You've helped all of my kids in different situations. You've responded to several people in the community, and I've seen it firsthand too. You see the care and the compassion. What you do is a very difficult job, and so from the bottom of all of our hearts, from what we've seen and what we've experienced firsthand, thank you very much. I appreciate it, and my family thanks you. Thank you.
Thank you. You and Michael, my son, were best of friends. He was at our home every day. And he grew up with me as a parent. I am so blessed that you're here at Irwin Public Schools. I know you're a Marine. Marines teach you how to go in and with no fear, and you put our kids at the forefront, and you put your body in front of our kids. And I thank you for that, for your dedication for our students and our teachers.
Thank you for the opportunity. I enjoy being here. Might as well have me, I'll stay.
Okay, you didn't say that. He didn't answer you back.
I know, yes.
I don't think he heard you.
We have, and I don't believe they're here. We had a contest for, bumper sticker that has been placed on each of your areas. For high school students, Berlin high school students, create a bumper sticker. It kind of like this said something about us without having put the word Berlin on there, right? So now everybody will know that that's our bumper sticker when it's on your car or what have you. So we had a contest, we had, I think, 9 people compete. And we had top 3. So I just want to acknowledge that our runners up were Justin Aguilar and Tristan Lovato. They're not here, so we'll get them their recognition. But we also have the winner of the contest is an athlete, I believe, cross-country runner, basketball player, and track. So he's a 3-sport athlete. He's busy all year long, and he's also an amazing artist. And so Javen Melter, if you come up, and high school coach. So just so you know, this is a lucrative project. I told Miss Santos, so yeah, I said I will give a $500 reward to the winner. So Javen, you not only get a certificate of recognition, but you're getting a $500 gift certificate from the district, and we're really proud of you. It's a beautiful design. The original art piece is beautifully designed. Obviously, we digitized it. I think we should be proud of this down for a long time. So congratulations. And I want to take a picture with all of our administrative teams that supported this effort.
I think in order to make that work, everybody needs to get on the step.
Actually. Okay, starting with, we have, for everybody that's not been to our board meetings, we've started out, acknowledging 5 different, roles within the district, because statutorily, and I say this to, I said this to the president, today, statutorily, or constitutionally, there's actually, only a few required positions in a school system by the Constitution. But we know that it takes a lot more to run a school. But we also know that these roles sometimes are not defined so clearly, right? So having a social worker in a school, you do more than just social work, right? She gardens on Saturdays. I know that she does that, right? Because we did that together because Rosangela's always doing something on Saturdays. But the roles are not always defined, but these represent the people that stepped into those roles, just like last month, and really fulfill them above and beyond what you would expect. And these are done through the schools and selections at the schools, and then they rise up to the district to make the final selection of all the school winners. So with that being said, starting off with our operational support of the month. Operational support are for individuals that do all the supports. They're anywhere from our facilities to maybe office staff in here to our custodians, to people that aren't necessarily teaching in the class or supporting the teaching in the class directly. But though that teaching doesn't happen without these people doing their work, right? You can't open the doors if your floors aren't clean, if your tables are falling apart, if all of these things are happening. Also, we have everybody gets a travel trophy. So last month's operational support was from Coach T, so they designed it. So the goal of every year is you get a traveling trophy every month. You get it for a month, but you have to design it. It has to say something about you, something about your school, what you represent. Okay. So our operational support of the month is Lupe Molinar. Or come up with, we'll be taking pictures with everybody. Lupe is the custodian for La Escuelita. If you ever want to know how La Escuelita functions, go there this week, because she's not there this week. I think she's on vacation. And they were kind of freaking out when she wasn't there. Lupe, you've done a great job. This is a card from the district, and then also here's your travel trophy. So you need to move over here.
Thank you. You got it.
Come on, Brenda. Ready? 1, 2, 3.
I can just stay up here.
We won't, this individual is not here tonight, so I'm just going to acknowledge her. No, she is here. This role is instructional support. So the instructional support goes to individuals that are not necessarily teachers in the classroom, but people that do work in helping support instruction in the classroom, anywhere from coaches to instructional coaches to people that work around those areas. And so this month's instructional support member is Patrice Grant. So Patrice almost left us. A year and a half ago, she almost decided that she was gonna actually leave the school system. And I begged her to give us another shot and we recruited her to Algodones and she found a home. And well, what I will say about Patrice is, again, the utility player, right? She's school counselor. She really does everything that you can ask for her to do. She teaches the kids, she counsels, she does administrative backup, she does everything, and then she does it with a wonderful smile. And a great attitude, and is always gracious in how she handles things, even when she's under stress, and I've kind of learned a little bit, so I know when she's under stress, but she's graceful about it. I'm also, she's gonna be a new mom, first time mom, so congratulations. Please, there's your certificate, and your gift certificate, and then here's your traveling trophy, so get it creative, and we'll come and take a picture, and she can't stand on the steps.
On this and.
Always has to your face. You were just hiding behind Bertie's head.
Yeah.
They bring their whole team whenever they come over. All of them together.
Our next recognition is the administrator of the month. It kind of says what it is. An administrator could be a district level administrator, building level administrator. It is an administrator of one of our programs, directors, principals, what have you. There is so much research about the importance of principals specifically in school. We know that teachers are the number one factor in improving student outcomes when you control everything outside of classroom, right? Teachers are the number one. Principals are the number one factor in student outcomes in schools. So I don't think about the principalship lightly at all. It is the most important role that we have to make sure that our schools are fulfilled, and we've gone through a lot of process of designing this, right? And this month's recipient was actually very close contender last month, but because of all of the things that factored in, Teresa Lilgardner is the principal of the month and the administrator of the month. Teresa is the principal at Santo Domingo Elementary Middle School. She started out as the interim, and then took on the job after having started the repairs of all the teacherages at Cochiti and doing a number of projects. And she didn't have an assistant principal for a period of time. Then she had an assistant principal, but her assistant principal was substituting a class the entire time until they had a teacher that we had hired that had to wait 30 days. So she didn't have an AP on the campus. So now she's got an AP, and I see her stress levels a little bit less. The last few times I've seen it. But Santo Domingo looks different, feels different today than it has in a long time. And so that's all to your leadership piece. I'm really proud of you. Thank you so much. And then, okay, so Rodangela was last week's, and she put a little cowboy hat on here, and I think it just hangs on. And then also, this is sponsored by MA Strategies. This particular award is sponsored by MA Strategies.
So we have
Like
a gift card for you. From Amazon.
Thank you.
Everybody look at mommy's because it's secret. But thank you so much on behalf of the board. I want to thank you for all your work you've done. We're especially the front windows. John's been very happy with what's happening out there as superintendent. And we want to never. We really put a lot of work and attention to San Domingo, and you've been a big part of making.
Thank you. We appreciate your presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Get hard work like Kelly's too.
No, that one.
You want to get super proposed.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3.
You gotta make that. And again.
Yes. Next, our next recipient for Employee of the Month is our Teacher of the Month. A relatively new teacher to the district. I don't think new to teaching, but relatively new to the district. And what I will say is, we have redesigned, the board authorized us to redesign the Spartan Learning Academy to make it a different feel for 7th and 8th grade students. It's a work in progress, just to be clear. We're not where we need to be, but because of this teacher, Mr. Eric Macapuno, we're going to get there because he's leading the way as a new teacher. Come up. He's leading the way as a new teacher. And taking all of our instructional design and leading all of it for that particular school. He's brand new and is leading the way, and I'm just really proud of him. And he's a super gracious guy as well. So you're doing a great job. This is your traveling trophy. Representative. Every time that I see all of our teachers from the Philippines come together, they represent. So I expect us to represent.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
1, 2.
And last, but most importantly, and truly most importantly, because as I was talking to the board president today, I said, so I talk about statutorily and constitutionally the roles that exist in our school. But there's only one person that has a right to be in our school, and that person's a student, right? They have a right, they're entitled. All of us are optional. We're lucky to do it. This is their right. And we're able to honor today a young lady by the name of Alana Zamora. Alana? So Alana is the recipient out of all of the schools in the district. And I want Ms. Olivas to say a little bit about
Well, just to let everybody know, yesterday she was actually selected as Student of the Month for my class. So I don't even know where to begin with this young lady. She's smart, she's like a good friend. She does extracurricular stuff. She just won. What did you just win? Wait, what? Oh, my motocross. She just won a first place in the motocross competition. She has 2 younger sisters at our school, and she's always concerned about them. The other day I had an appointment, and the next day she tells me, so how did it go, Miss Olivas? I hope everything's okay. And like she just has a heart of gold, and she perseveres through hard work. I could go on and on, but she's an amazing student. And she's a great daughter from what I hear, and yeah, I'm just so proud of her, and I couldn't have picked, I did pick her, but I would have nominated her as well. I know Mr. Dupree's the one that nominated her, and then he came and asked what I thought, and I said, that's perfect, so she deserves it.
And then you're and then I'm gonna say you got a lot to live up with, because the person that was a student that received it last month, she's got all kinds of style. You have to add something to this, or many things to this. This is yours to design, and then in a month we're gonna ask for it back, but it'll always have the sense of being fun, okay? Alana, congratulations. Come on in, good.
Fourth grade.
We have this week.
Rosita? Yeah.
Cards. And that's for you to use any shoes. Shirt, please.
And this is sponsored by Circle B Ranch, President Madrid's business.
How you doing that?
I'm sorry, I keep forgetting that part. This is.
No, you're good, you're good.
Okay.
Congratulations.
All right, ready? 1, 2, 3.
So before you go, Alana, each one of us board members is gonna acknowledge all of the recipients, but it's my job to acknowledge you, and I just want to say thank you for leading the way, for showing everybody, you know, the right and the wrong, and doing all the things positive. And I want to acknowledge your parents, for she wouldn't be here without you guys. And so thank them all the time, but thank you so much for being the leader in your group and in your class and basically in the entire district. So all the kids in the whole district, and there's a bunch of them, you're the best this month. Good job. Congrats so wrong, sorry. So with that being said, Ms. Chavez.
Yes, Lupe, gracias mucho por tu trabajo que haces. Sorry for my Spanglish and stuff. But Lupe, thank you. I watched your performance for the last 8 years, 9 years. My granddaughter was in pre-K. If anybody knows Lupe and you go to the escuelita, the floor is spotless. You can see yourself in the mirror. It's like seeing yourself in the mirror. It's clean, the weeds. My husband would take our grandkids every morning and she's out there cleaning. Or we pick her up, they're out, she's out there. Gracias.
Thank you.
Gracias.
Ms. Grant, I just wanted to thank you. I know that you have a really great heart, and Algodones is very lucky and blessed to have you at their school. The students there, I know that when you were at the high school, the support that you gave to my daughter when she was a student there as a senior and now a sophomore at Yale, and just really blessed, like I said, nature for being there. So having to always running that, being there for our students. Thank you, thank you.
Forgive me if I say it incorrectly, Mr. Matapuno? Yeah. All right, so I know why they wanted me to acknowledge you, as my middle school math teacher. You are certainly better than. The superintendent was my middle school math teacher. That's why I sit here, so I can get back at all of the homework. I just want to acknowledge the work that you do with our students at our SLA. SLA, you know, the vision of that campus has changed this year. To really align with what the district is doing, and that's inclusivity, right? We changed the name because we recognize that school serves multiple communities. And, you know, when we see teachers recognized in this capacity, it's because they are honoring that mission that we were set forth for that campus. So thank you for being a welcoming presence for all those students who come to your class, even if it is math.
You start back.
Jamie, you again, Teresa. Oh, it's Teresa. Sorry, then I always screwed up. Sorry about that, but Teresa, thank you so much. I think I said a lot here. It does go a long way with us. We have concentrated and had a major effort there, and we're starting to see the results of some really wonderful things that we've taken the leadership role with. So I won't say any more than that because I already said a lot, and it means a lot to us. But I do want to give John an opportunity to say thank you. He's been there part of the journey, so John.
Yeah, I mean, it is the culture of that campus. You know, and what I look at as a representative of students and families, how the kids, right? That's what I'm interested in. And I have to say that this is the first year that I've seen overall happy children in that campus. They are playing. I have not had a single call about bullying. I have not had a single parent approach me about bullying. I just, this is 3 years of hard work that we have seen, you know. And in your short time there, you have taken full ownership of that campus. The staff is moving in the right direction. Even if they kick and scream, they're moving in the right direction. And we wholeheartedly support what you're doing for that community, including coaching and the work at the teachers. So thank you for doing that as well.
And if I can have it back, Algodones and the Cositas representatives, thank you so much. Every time I walk into those two schools, your efforts, the young lady, I mean, fantastic. And just looking at all the students and everything like that, I love going to those two schools. And it's always a nice, wonderful atmosphere. So I want to thank you also. Okay, I'm done.
So I'll close up recognitions with, you know, all month long, I'll get phone calls and have meetings and go to committees and do all these different endeavors. And most of the stuff that I get is how do we get better? There's a problem here, there's a problem there. Actually, the majority of it, and it's always something to fix, something to work on. And then we come to this board meeting, and once a month we get to acknowledge. I see Coach Darnell, and sometimes the look on his face, I'm like, geez, and Coach Kim, Jennifer, I think she speaks like a month in the summer, maybe. And so I see all the stress and all the hard work and everything that everybody does. I see Jimmy out on campus. And so if you guys think you're not being noticed, you definitely are. But once a month, we get to bring the best of the best and acknowledge them. And congratulations to everybody. It's really, really cool to see. And I think things are headed in the right direction. We're all about student outcomes and trying to make things better for everyone. And I think we're headed that way. So congratulations to all of you guys, and especially to Student of the Month over there.
You get everyone?
Think so? Yeah.
Oh, we were, thank you for, it's on the calendar. We were going to recognize the Calabasa family. That Jessica Calabasa and her entire family. For our orientation, all of our new employees, we traditionally take them through a tour of the communities. And this year, Jessica Calabasa, the orientation happened to be on August 4th, the state for Santo Domingo Pueblo. And we were able to take the entire group, I believe about 80+ individuals, to the Calabasa family. They separated into 2 houses and they fed them all as they were able to experience an authentic feast day in real time. So it was really, really powerful. Jessica, as soon as she heard about it, she said, "Oh, we'll do it." And, you know, interestingly enough, they're accustomed to doing that, right? That's the tradition. But it was really moving, and I've heard from so many new employees that was a powerful experience for them, and really showed them the power of the traditions in our communities. And so we will bring Jessica's family back to honor them, but this was on our agenda, and we just wanted everybody that was here to know. So this, they had a death in their family, so they're not available. Thank you.
Sure. I want to I'm getting emotional about this, but I want to take a moment to keep the Villegas family in our hearts and our prayers. It's Algodones family who lives 2 doors over from me. And what they're going through right now with the loss of their young nephew in the ice spill incident. They are members of our community. The Algodones community, nobody know. And our hearts go out to them. And they were students here. They were well-known students here, athletes, and were a big part of our school system. So please send your prayers and our thoughts to that family as they heal and move forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Item number 10 is NEA. Is there anything from NEA?
I do not believe so, and
I don't think she's on there.
So I don't see
So I went to dive number 10, thinking that. But everyone that was here for awards and everyone that was here for acknowledgements. You guys are free to go. You don't have to stick around for all the boring stuff. So all the good stuff's over. Don't feel bad. We'll take, a minute or two and let you guys exit and then we'll get into the other business. So thank you all for coming. Item number 11 is consent agenda items. There'll be no discussion of these items unless a board member so requests. In which event it'll be placed on the agenda as an action item. The next meeting. 11.1 minutes from August 8th and minutes from August the 24th. Board members, did you have a minute to look at them prior to the meeting? Yes. I'm looking for a motion to approve 11.1.
President, I make a motion to approve 11.1, the minutes of 8/8 and 8/24.
I'll second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. 11.2, voided checklisting. Looking for a motion of voided checklisting, unless somebody has.
I make a motion to approve the 11.2 voided checklisting. Second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Next item is the executive session number 12. There is no business. Item number 13 are action items. 13.1 is the August vouchers. Mr. Superintendent.
Mr. President, members of the board, I did not receive any questions about the August vouchers. I recommend the passage of the August vouchers.
Mr. President, I so move to approve 13.1 August vouchers.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
13.1, motion carried. 13.2, budget adjustment request.
Mr. President, I just have a really quick clarification question, Mr. Montano. Is there a reason why the original bar, the spreadsheet is not signed when it's uploaded on this, but on to this, right here. To show that us or me, that we looked at it, or somebody that you assigned directly to prove that it's okay.
I think she gets approved right here.
So when you approve it, then I go into the system
Okay.
to approve it.
So it gets approved after. It's just, I know this was the beginning stage of initiation, so I didn't know, that, and then that goes until farm. But it does get signed with those people.
Yeah, you everyone approved.
Okay. Thank you for the clarification.
I say this all the time for you like the best. Item number 14 is the safety update.
We didn't make a motion. That's Mr. President, I motion to approve 13.2 budget adjustment requests.
I'll second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
13. Thank you guys. Motion carries. Number 14 is the safety update. Mr. Strickland.
Mr. President, we have Mr. Wallace here to update the board on safety. Ms. Barnett, can you give me the ability to share? I think you have to make it a co-host.
Okay.
No pressure.
You see that?
While we're working on that,
You got it. This is part of it.
bringing that up. But so you guys kind of know what I'm gonna provide tonight. I've got a couple of updates, but we actually did a tabletop yesterday with the principal. And I wanted to talk to you a little bit about what we saw, what we did. And some of you that have done tabletops before, it's gonna look very familiar. The scenario we actually did is one that's come up multiple times.
You got
in
it?
Discussions within the community. You're making me do it by memory again, aren't you?
There you go.
All right. Next slide, please. Okay, camera situation right now. All of our cameras are installed at San Domingo. However, we're having a network issue, so we actually have a contractor in this week to try to figure out why it's not connecting. When you go onto the Verkada website, you can see all the cameras are plugged in. They're just not showing any video right now. Carol, we started Carol this week. It's gonna take a couple of weeks. We'll move on to Escalita from there. Then we'll move to BES, and our final school is BMS, but we still need to report to the full SLA. I'm sorry, SLA, smart learning. Next slide. Where we at?
Formerly known as.
There we go. Fencing, we actually have a fencing project right now going on at SLA. If you've driven by there, you've seen it. We have some local folks that are doing a really good job for us. I think we're gonna end up probably having them do more for us because we've done such a good job. A small business, but they're doing great work. Also an update on D-Gate. We're still dealing with D-Gate. The company that has been doing it for us, they have a gate that they're working on. We're looking at taking the current gate and possibly having Dean and his class work on that and keeping that as a backup. And then when we get our new gate from there.
We let them know about the camera system you put there in the meantime.
Yeah, so one of the things that we've seen is we obviously within the last few months, it's been hit multiple times. So what I did was leveraged some of the relationships I have working for Balloon Fiesta. And I was able to actually get a loaner for 30 days. They obviously want to sell us some cameras. But it's something we're looking at. We have the ability to go in and monitor it on phone, iPad, sitting on your couch in the living room. I've given that access to Jimmy, Barry. I think I sent it to the principal as well. I can't remember. But obviously, it's not just me that has the ability to plug in. I think that's all I'm fencing.
One comment on the Smart Learning Academy fencing. So it happened so quickly, and the contractor, the local contracting company, so I was finishing a run, or I was getting started on a run, Monday morning or Tuesday morning at 6 o'clock, right? I was getting ready to go. And I saw the truck driving by, and I come back, and they have the jackhammers, and they're already doing it, 20 minutes later. And then I'm walking to work, And they're already packing up their stuff because they've already set up the infrastructure. And this happened like within an hour and a half. And then today I saw them putting up the actual fencing. So good company, and I didn't know that they were local. I just saw it was a different company.
Yes, sir. Training, we've already talked a little bit about it, but we actually have it scheduled, Narcan training. We're gonna do it, for all our schools. We've got most of the schools scheduled now, so waiting on a couple of schools to get back with me. But we're moving forward with that project. Principal update and training, we're doing that once a week. I'm working with Gwen. And yesterday we had our first, opportunity to come together, and what we did was we did a tabletop. I'll walk you guys through the tabletop. Like I said, it's one that has come up multiple times. Dr. James actually posed it to me whenever I went through my first interview for my first job, talked a little bit about it. And then it came up whenever we were doing an interview the other day. A parent actually brought it up again. And then last week, a different parent brought it up. It's the exercise itself is Algodones, nice, cool day, 10 o'clock in the morning, 65 degrees. Next thing you know, a train wreck's right there just south of the school. I know there's a lot of people that are concerned about that, and that's what the tabletop is. So if you'll move forward, we'll show you a little bit of what they saw, some of the injects that they dealt with. Like I said, 10 o'clock in the morning. Mr. Goudelet, whenever you're looking at a tabletop and you hear wind out of the south of 15 miles an hour, you know something bad's happening, right? So what they end up getting is
Send
they
the cops in first. That's okay.
So that's their situation. That's what they start off with. They don't really know what's going on, other than, hey, they're in Algodones, because that's where the training. Next slide. So like I said, what they're told is they hear a train horn, and it's not like it usually sounds. It's loud, and then it just kind of drifts off. Loud crash is heard by staff and students. The building shakes, the ground shakes. Students and staff that were outside observe debris flying. So the next thing they're told is. Keep going. You may have missed the. Okay.
It's on my computer.
Okay. I was watching out. So next thing you're looking for is the index or the steps that they're gonna take. So the first thing we're talking about is, hey, what is your first step when you're doing this? You're doing the principal on site. So what we were looking for is we were looking for them to take some sort of action, right? What action are we looking for? Well, we're looking for them to do something to provide a safe and secure environment for their students. So across the board, the very first step that everybody said they would take is they said they would shelter in place. Okay, some of them said they would call 911, some of them said they would do a race, and so they talked about using the radio. The point being there, what I've really been working on our principals with is making sure that everybody knows who's in charge, whether they announce that they're IC or not, it doesn't matter. Making sure that people know that they're there, they've got control of the scene, and telling people what's going on. Next slide. Keep going. Yeah, keep going. Sorry. All right, one more. Yep. So we talked about what our priorities were, what was next. And that's what the next thing I told them is the next inject is, hey, what are you doing to keep your kids safe, right? So the next thing they get is now they're getting reports of fire and explosions at the crash site. Crash site is approximately 200 yards south of the school. Now they're urged to do something else, right? They're now dealing with an explosion and a fire that is actually moving towards the school. So what they did was all of them decided that they would evacuate the school. In Algodones, the evacuation area is just north, still on along 313 over there by the firehouse, right? But as Mr. Goudelet pointed out, if the winds are coming 15 miles an hour to the south, in a scenario like this, probably something else is gonna happen, right? What I'm looking for here is I want them to be agile in their decision making. Okay, because I want them to understand that just because you're safe now doesn't mean you're safe 5 minutes from now. You have to be able to manage from a 50,000 foot view as opposed to being down in the weeds. Because if you're down here trying to handle every little fire as it comes up, you're gonna get run over by the event. Next slide, So now we're starting to report strange smell in the air. If you're trying to handle every little piece of the event, You're not gonna hear that on the radio, and if you do, you're gonna be like, that's not important. But if you're looking at it from a 50,000 foot view, hey, that's weird. Why am I starting to hear that across the radio, right? Next thing. Now staff and students are reporting having trouble breathing. So what we're looking for here is, like I said, we want them to be agile in their decision making and move from where they're at, right? One of the things they had talked about originally was, Rosangela had talked, well, I would move first before we even went to the original site, which she would have gone to the cemetery. Well, I just adjusted it and one of the winds were out of the west going to the east. But either way, what I wanted to do is I wanted to see them to be able to make those decisions in a timely manner. Because what I told them is I said, I don't need somebody that makes a decision, the best decision, the perfect decision 2 hours from now. I said, I don't need somebody that won't make a decision. I need somebody to make a decision right now. And it doesn't have to be the best. It has to be a good decision based on what your priorities of life. What are you trying to do right now? You're trying to get your kids out of danger, right? First and foremost. And then we talked about once they move them, getting that accountability, communicating. Also, we're talking about, hey, if first responders are showing up, we're trying to link up. But the big thing here is, again, making sure that we are delegating pieces of this pie so they're not getting too involved in it and they can't manage it from an overarching scene. Next. We went into the communications piece, 7 critical tasks, didn't spend a lot of time on this. This is something they've already seen, train them up on it. The big thing is I wanted them to make sure they understood, when they're, for whatever reason, I probably haven't done a very good job of making sure they understand, hey, district office is not necessarily your first call. Especially on this, your first thing you gotta do is get your kids to see, right? When it's safe to do so, you call me, you call Gwen, you start making those calls under additional resources, because that's where we're going. So I wanted to make sure I drove that home as far as making sure they know. Priority first, get your kids and your staff safe. Thanks. So at the end, we just talked about, this is gonna be an event that goes multiple operations, multiple operational periods. They'll end up passing it off. Obviously, district personnel are gonna be involved. But we wanted to hear, what I was looking for is I wanted to hear their strategic thinking on, hey, what's next, right? So we started talking about reunification, we started talking about transportation, how are we gonna do that from where we're at, right? Started talking about feeding people, started talking about the mess and the chaos of where that particular spot is and how hard it's gonna be to get them resources and get them moved. So we're gonna have to think outside of the box on that. But then I also told them, hey, every school site is gonna have those individual challenges. Just because you're here at Carroll and Escalita doesn't mean that you're gonna get a fast response. Because we all know, something like this happens, that entire street of Escalita, that's locked down, right? So us trying to help, us trying to get them assistance, that's gonna be a very interesting piece to say the least. So I wanted to make sure they understood that they have to be able to manage at a high level for an extended amount of time. Any questions on the tabletop or any of the update there?
And you've done this at every site? Or you've done-
But we did this with the principal.
But so all the principals.
Yeah, all the principals do that.
Okay, so I have a few thoughts because of the community involvement on this. So the event is taking place south. You're pretty much shutting out everything. I mean, even emergency, everything coming in from the south, right? Because it's very close to the railroad track and the highway does the S. So the only, really, and if you take our kids and run them up the highway on 313, you've got emergency vehicles because that's the only way in. Won't be able to come in from the south. Some will, but then you've got more, right? So the community itself is really a difficult situation. I mean, every day it's extremely difficult, but there's a field across the street that goes all the way back almost to the freeway, and it's the Archie field. And so my question would be, where's community involvement in this type of thing? Because that would be the largest open space, probably safest space. But even if you went down Los Colonias, the back road, and you took them around heading south, there are a ton of open fields there too, where you can read unification, you can do a lot of things there. So I think this is great. But there's going to be some, this can happen in an explosion, like you mentioned, right? But egress and am I saying this correctly?
Ingress.
Ingress and
Ingress.
it's gonna be difficult. No other situation to handle that many kids and where they go to be safe. I think if we, at some time, community involvement, maybe even with the homeowners facility, water association, we also have those type of connections with the community. So just thinking a little bit outside the box, if it is something that major, that there are a lot of things to take into consideration.
And just so you know, one of the final solutions we came up with was going directly east, going to the field, going up to I-25 and getting on buses. That was the transportation piece that the best plan that they came up with.
But even that, you still have some things that you've got to, it is a good, it is a good plan. But they've got to cross the ditch, they've got to cross open land that is property and stuff like that, and difficult to get with the powers of skaters. 100. So anyway, no, great, I think this is a fantastic start, so thank you, I appreciate that.
More questions?
More questions? All right, thank you guys.
Thank you.
Good job.
Thanks so much.
Next item on the agenda, number 15, identify priorities. Board members, everyone was received an email with the priorities. Some of them lined up with the FSP, some of them were other. Did everyone have a moment to review that list? Pretty intense list.
I'll get ready to.
Do you want to bring it up? Yeah.
So as we're using this as a discussion, normally we would do a leadership report, but you want to have this discussion. I sent out a survey for you to rank them so we can just kind of compile it and so forth. So after this conversation that we have this evening, would still like for you to put your rankings in that survey. So that way we can compile it and then I can share that with you and say, okay, this is the guidance that you're giving us for us to do that, okay? It's organized mostly alphabetically, almost completely alphabetically. I don't know where you want to start, Mr. President, but again, as a reminder, one of the conversations we had at the last regular meeting was the decision of the board to say Oncolonis is still a priority to build a new school. But because of the amount of finances that we have, we're going to need help from the state in order to get that done, more help than what currently would be provided. And therefore, we still need to use our current resources to remedy some of the issues around the other schools. And so with that being, we did list
Do you mean to pull it out?
Terry and Kevin listed ongoing issues that need to be addressed if in fact we were not going to replace the school. So these are the ongoing issues that need to be addressed. These are estimated costs. Remember, these are costs of things that are similar to things that we've done in other schools. A year time means costs go up, right? Inflation's outrageous. So, you know, that $1.1 million cost for an HVAC replacement could be 1.5, that could be 1.6. Could also come down, right? So this is based upon similar costs to what we did in Coach T with the HVAC replacement, and so forth, kind of estimating based upon those things.
And Superintendent, if I might interject real quick, just let them know also, it says the status there is high. There's a high priority, right? There's a moderate priority and there's a low priority. But even in that high priority, I had a spreadsheet and I can pull it up, or I can try to get it, but it actually has high and they're colored red. Because what it's going to do in that high red is going to affect other things if we don't address it. So if you have a roof that needs to be addressed and we don't address it soon, it's going to affect walls, it's going to affect foundations, it's going to affect something else. So that's what I wanted you, I know that when Kalia, our intern, put this into a spreadsheet for me. That wasn't put on here, but I want you to know that that's, you know, that's something that we do have, and I can address some of that stuff as well, as that, you know, these are issues that if we don't address them, there's gonna be multiple things that are gonna follow, you know, after that as well. That are gonna affect.
So me, Mr. Darnell. And looking at the list, it's a pretty massive list, and so just based off of the heights and then. When I went through it, I'd like, if possible, the highs to add another category to critical.
Yes.
And if you could add critical, I'm not so interested if it's not in the FMP.
But just critical.
Do you feel like the things that are not in the FMP can be, at least from this perspective, right? I know that they're important, I know that they need to be accounted for, but if they're not in the FMP, should we be looking at them? That's a question for you specifically, is that, or to me, if they don't fall in the FMP, they're not gonna fall into critical. And so, but I saw that there's quite a few things, and not to negate, but I'm just trying to sift through all this information in my brain when I'm looking through the spreadsheet. And so everything that's on the high list, we can't accomplish, right, in my opinion. So I think we need to break high down to criticals and then revisit it. I mean, that's how I'm viewing it. Or do you think we have the ability to address the highs?
I don't know that we have the ability to address all of the highs now. And we have an ability to address the highs over phase period of time, right? This year, there's some critical things that do have. I mean, I think, you know, there might be a discussion tonight over the coaching team roof, right? That and if that is something that's critical. If we don't do something with that soon, we're gonna have some other failures in that area. And not to say that, you know, there's other things as well in the district. It's not just coaching roof. There's the stucco over at Placitas that's failing, and that if we don't address soon, it's gonna start to chip away. And it's already affecting the foundation. Whenever we went around with the FMP, when you're looking at it, it's already affecting the foundation. There's certain things like that, right, that I want you to be aware of. And I'm gonna try to find an email that I sent to Superintendent Matanya, because I think it does have those things that you're talking about, those criticals, that I would like, you know, that I think you guys should take.
The one in the Word document?
Yeah, the one in the Word document. I sent it in the Word document. I didn't send it in an Excel spreadsheet.
I'll say, yes.
Is there a way maybe on this spreadsheet is to highlight the ones that were critical red?
Yeah, that's what we, I think, that, yeah.
Would it be possible to right now, in a live session, just go through them? And then superintendent, you just change it from green to red?
And then if I may just add,
Or should this be a work session process that we just?
Can have the email that is handy.
We should put it on our work session next.
Yeah.
This was on our last work session, but we got caught up with some other issues that came up. We should put it on our work session. One of the things I wanted to raise is just getting the conversation around this, making sure that everybody's looking at, making sure that you fill out the survey, so they're using the information based on fill out the survey. But I think there's a couple of things. Mr. Darnell has gone out and gotten quotes. I think Kevin and you have gotten quotes for Coach D specifically. And there's a couple of issues when it comes to the quotes on Coach D. If we do like an entire school roofing project right now, we're talking, it's going to have to be a TPO system, and it's going to cost about $800,000. And that would start within the next couple of weeks to month, based upon the quote. If we get the most critical area of Coach T, which is the building, that main kind of oldest part of the building, where we're having all of the leaks, that would cost us between $150,000 to $200,000. It would be a TPO system as well, with us still doing the rest of the roof with a liquid rubberized system, similar to what we've been doing in the other buildings, which is a longer term, less expensive, higher quality system. TPO is still quality, but that would be a decision that I would want the board to kind of like give us some guidance on. Yes,
Superintendent or President, just interjecting too, that as you make these decisions, you're affecting the FIMS ranking.
So someday when you want to replace that, well, your project you put into it pushes it down the list.
Dr. James, I'm glad you brought that up, because that's weighing heavy on me right now, especially with the other site and what PSFA and what our rating would.
Algolis is funded. Algolis is already.
That's a question, right?
Here's the. So we're just talking Coachity right now. So Coachity is ranked, I believe, 309, right? You have to get, in order for you to get a system upgrade, you have to be in the top 350. Which means a system upgrade would potentially get us funded for a week. In order to get to an entire upgrade, you have to be in the top 170. And then that actually just moves you up to fundable, but not necessarily funded, right? So with Algodones, with the work that was done last year with Algodones, remember, we were ranked I think 178. And with some support from some external and with Terry guiding that, we moved up to number 7. So Algodones is set, and we're getting ready to hopefully now in October go in front of PSCOC and formally ask them for the funding now that we have the FMP and so forth. Now that could get us funded, and again, this is part of the conversation and how we move forward strategically. As the board president Madrid presented, I guess I want to say in July already. We currently have about $13 million sitting in general obligations bonds available to us to do some of this work. We have the potential for $25 million more beginning in the spring of 26 to continue working on all of some of these maintenance issues. Remember, if we combine all of that, that's $38 million that would expire, that would have to take us until 2031. Right, it's 2023, it would take us, that's $38 million to take us for the next 8 years. Currently, we have an estimation from our contractors with FMP, estimating that the building for Algodones would be between $30 and $35 million today, based upon current estimates.
Is that our cost or is that shared?
Well, that's with us paying 62%. Or actually, no, I'm sorry, 59%. Initially it was 62, now it's 59%. So we'd be paying 59%, it's been matching 41%. In our request of PSCOC, we're going to ask them for a waiver of our match. And that's going to be key to what we have to do, right? Because if PSCOC says, hey, we will waive all but 10%, that gives us a runway, right? If they waive all of it, that gives us a better runway, because then we have we have more than $39 million of projects that we have to be working on based upon this. So I think those are the conversations that we have to have. I think the issue with Coachity, this would be my recommendation for the conversation with the board, based upon where we are right now. I believe that roof is at a critical stage, specifically that old part of the building. And even if it knocks us down on the fins, we can't continue to punt on it, because it's going to become a critical failure with multiple other things failing. And so I think,
Mr. Manchego, is there any other our school districts on that list that are close to the 350? Because I'm looking at the Spartan Learning Academy, and this is another severe one, because the foundation, the slab, and the structure, that's going to collapse if we don't get that fixed too. That's from rooms 1 through 10, and it's been investigated in extensive cracking.
Can I just comment on that, so that way you know what it is? If you went to school there, you would know.
Yeah, it's old.
You guys remember in that hallway, that's an older part of the building. And what it's actually doing is the concrete's coming apart from each other, right? So it's creating the tile that's been on top of there just to separate. It's not going to collapse in any way. It's not going to come apart and the building fall apart. It's creating a nice crack that every time that you put tile over the top, you're probably going to have to continue to have that crack. So at some point, we're going to have to address that, right? Take the tile up, address the foundation, and then come back and put some tile work over the top, or whatever we want to put. But as far as it being a safety concern and it's something drastic happening, no. The roof at Cochiti, it's not gonna fail where it's gonna fall on kids' heads tomorrow or anything. But I can tell you is, if we continue to keep band-aiding it the way we've been doing, it's gonna, eventually we're gonna have some ceiling tiles and we're gonna have cracking in the walls and chipping and things like that we don't need to have. So that's something that we need to address because it will create other failures if we don't address it.
Right, and I concur with Mr. President here, because we do need to do critical, because just by reading this. I thought it was critical, but you clarified it, and it's totally different now, in my perspective.
Yeah, it is critical, but it's not life-threatening.
Right, that's the.
So maybe that's what
That's
we
the
need,
critical part, is what I'm looking at.
maybe that's what we need to start listing
Right.
out, maybe life and safety kind of thing. I know Dr. James has a formula for that as well, so.
Mr. President, in regards to the 800K for the roof at Coach T, does this also include pits? Because
That's just to basically, not to
like they're working because the parapets and the stucco.
And we still, yes, that's.
Because that needs to be done, all of that needs to be done to make sure that the roof is
Right.
So to interject real quick here, board members, for us to figure out a way that's gonna work to strategically fund the project. But to not fund so that there's more decay down the road. I think, and I'm just trying to strategize. I think we need to. There's a lot of stuff happening. I think we need to pick like the top 3 and fund them. And if that means fund the roof, fund the parapets, fund the stucco in Cochiti, look at how that, and it's gonna back us off on the bins, but it's gonna kick that out of our mirror. We're no longer gonna see it be in the rearview mirror and we can move on to the next thing, but it'll be over. And we have to also be critical in waiting for that 2026. So we've got this 13,000 or 13 million and the other 10 million to come, right?
Actually, 4 million coming in the spring. So we have a total of about $17 million currently that have already been, we'll set.
So we have this, so I'm thinking if we have like.
That's about the board.
If we utilize, if we think outside and we have this, and I'm just trying to strategize real quick, or if we use $10 million, we say, okay, we're gonna. And then we get the top 3 and we tackle them. We get the quotes and we kick the work off. And say that takes it down to 5 million. Now we have 5 million. Kevin, Terry, superintendent, what do we do next? So 3 projects are going, they're funded, they're RFP, those are out, and then we do the next 2 or 3. And we still have to strategically keep money in the kitty with the hopes that we know how they're gonna give us, if they're gonna give us the waiver. If they don't give us the waiver, then we have some really, we have some big issues. Basically, we've got mud on our face because we're gonna have to really pump the brakes on some things that we've committed to and relook at it. And then suddenly Agalones goes from, we're hoping that suddenly Agalones becomes in a mix in this too. So those funds have to go there. So, but I think we should kick off, if you guys could give us the top 3
Critical.
like that. Safety issues, leaky classrooms or even the top 5.
I'd say the top 5.
But get the quotes or ish, it's always gonna be an ish. And then we can actually kick this work off, because I feel like the district has, the boardroom's leaking, they patch the boardroom.
Yeah.
And then office down there's leaking, they patch the office down there, and then they patch the next one, they patch the next one. And then I'm like, I like to finish things, take on a project, get through it, and not come back to it till Cristiano's.
Right.
I'm just trying to. So I'm just, board members, I think I'll. The superintendent, I think am I guiding this the way that we're supposed to strategically figure out what we're gonna attack. And so we can't do it all. And based off of the spreadsheet that I received, I thought it was a little vague, if you will, and for lack of a better term, right? So I think I need more input from you folks, like saying exactly.
Yeah.
I just put it in one, I should have put it in Excel so that we didn't have to go
I get it.
And then, real quick, Mr. President, the money for that get, where is that?
It's a fund called LDIP, and so I think it's a 4-day fund, so if we needed it, we just had.
Oh,
to
it has
request
to be
it.
24-hour contract, Dr. James, to pull out the money that we need.
Yeah, they'll take you 48.
48 months.
We have like,
There's actually 11.
that's not, we got
Well,
the money that you're talking
Well,
about.
The 4 million is come, so we basically have 4
it's kind of a shell,
Yeah,
so yeah, that's inclusive.
I think of it as we have $14 million to spend on brick and mortar
We do.
for our kids. Yeah, that's how I'm thinking of it. Your thoughts, Superintendent?
I mean, I think you're exactly right on with the idea that we can't sit on our heels waiting for Oklahoma to get funded. We have to do that, but we also have some critical.
Yep.
Some critical issues. What my concern with the coaching situation is, Terry's actually talked about it, I think, in June, about the issue that they're having. Foundation, they're gonna start having foundation issues, the parapet, and it's just gonna continue. And Terry, you and I talked a little bit about this today. Will you share with the board about some of the things that as you guys did the first patch, then it opened up, and you know how roof leaks are in any family, right? If you have multiple leaks, the leak that's closest to the water source and downhill is gonna get it, right? And once you patch that, then there's another leak, but you don't know about it because the other one was absorbing it. And so can you talk a little bit about that?
I would, and I'd like to just share with you, when I came into this, there had already been, roof leaks in multiple areas. Placitas was going on, Coastie was going on, DHS was going on, BES was going on, the SLA was going on. So I had multiple roof leaks at various sites. So it wasn't something that I just said, let's fix this one day. We tried to fix it and the best that we could, not knowing how much money we had available to us at the time. You guys being the board that you are and wanting to fix things and do things right. I know that we did have a lot of money and we actually started at some of the projects we needed to. With that being said, Coach D has a dip right over the computer map. And what it is over the years with all the leaks that they've had there, just patching it. If you've ever seen on the top of a roof, they put an insulation. It's a decking, right? And all it is about a 2-inch insulation. When that 2 insulation gets wet, it tends to shrink, and especially if you don't take care of it all the time. Well, it has done that in that area. So it's created a hole, just a swale. But that swale keeps continuing to pond water. And as that water gets ponded, it finds the holes. Well, when I came into the job that I have now, the role that I have, I found that it was leaking this whole entire time, and they just been putting buckets, they've been putting trash cans and things like that. So the immediate thing was, I got to fix this leak. Called Roof Care, that came out, and actually Roof Care had already been contacted in other areas throughout the district and other services before this. Called them, they came out and they patched it immediately, right? The immediate fix. And it wasn't, nothing was said, hey, we got to fix the roof. It was just, we fixed the leak, let's take care of that right now. And we're going to move on to the next leaks that we had in the roofing projects. And then from about, I think it was about June or whenever Kevin was on board, we got the next one. He actually took on that part. And we got the next leak. And what happens is, because you fix the leak that's there in that pond, the water has nowhere to go. It doesn't leak in the roof anymore, right? So it builds up more and it finds the next leak. So now that the pond is bigger, it found it's farther up the chain there. And that's what happened. So then we fixed that leak. Now, this third leak that happened was the ponding's still there. We need to get it fixed, but the ponding's still there. It went to the drains that are there. Well, the drain that is the main drain for it sits over here, and the swale is like this, so it can't get to it. And the overflow drain that sits a little farther down has a pipe that's about that high, because it's just an overflow drain, and it wouldn't let the water go either. So when Roof Care went over to Kevin, they got a sawzall, they cut the the overflow drain, immediately the water dissipated, went down out the drains that it was supposed to. And now we don't have the ponding right there, right, like we had. But we still have some ponding issue on it, and we really gotta fix that part of it. But with that being said, I wanna make sure you guys understand, in fixing these and putting Band-Aids on them is because we were doing other roofing projects that were in need. And knowing that we didn't know what was gonna happen with Abelones, we hadn't acted on a roof over there. And all that big, because you're talking a couple $100,000 just to fix that immediate problem. And to fix all the roofing is 800 and some thousand, with the TPO that one. So with that being said, we didn't fix the roof yet until we found out what was gonna happen with our Abelones project. Once we had found out now that we're gonna free up some money, that's when Kevin got the quote. We got it about, what, 15 days ago, maybe at the most. It's $800,000 to put TPO over all of the school right now, or we can wait until April. And then they'll put a fluid applied, which is less expensive, and it'll only be 400,000. My suggestion would be that we fix the immediate fix right now. And then we come back and we fix the other parts of it. And the reason is because we're not having leaks over other parts of the building right now. It's that area that is really taking, having all the leak issues right now. So that's how that played out. I just wanted you to be aware that it wasn't something we just said, let's fix it. And we knew that it was an issue, we just didn't know where our money was gonna come from.
Let's get a cost to fix that one spot is what?
To fix that one area, if we fix the one area, just that one area, you're probably talking about $100,000. But if you want to fix the older part of the school, which still has gravel on top, which they don't even do anything, that area is going to be, I would assume about, we figured probably about 2050. We don't have a bid for it yet, because we just got a bid for the roof. So we'll break that up and get you a bid for that. And then they're ready to start anytime we get appeal.
I just want to clarify, when I said patching and band-aiding, all of that goes back into, when I make those comments, I never am implying that anyone, my whole thing is prior to all of the previous situations. That's what when I say that, that's what I'm getting at. I'm thinking 3 years ago, 4 years ago, 5 years ago, 6 years ago, these things were neglected. And now, I often say the sins of our forefathers, if you will, but I think we're here and I want to fix them, right? I'll share with you guys a quick story about my dog kennel, right? I usually fix everything as best I can right away. And the dog kennel, the dog, he kept getting out. And I patched it and then got out, and I patched it and then got out, and I patched it. I'm serious, I probably had like 40 hours of patch time on this kennel. Because I couldn't find the 1 hour to break out the tools and do it properly. And so my hope is, and so then I finally did it on a Sunday morning. And every time I walk past the kennel, I'm like, got you guys. But my point in sharing that story is the fact that I think we need to look at these things collectively, and Coach D sounds like it needs some serious addressing. And if we do the roofs and don't do the parapets, we still have water leaking into the walls and into the foundation and down and doing other things. So I think we need to bite the bullet, guys, and figure out how we're going to do it. And if your plan of attack is the 100,000 or the PTO roof now, the liquid roof in April, the parapets and all that but to do it all, like not. I don't think we should continue piecemealing things together.
Well,
Now I could be wrong.
I'm with you, Mr. President, and I was kind of headed down. If we look at the phase in, then we can address the whole model that you just talked about when we say we have X amount of dollars. And we'll work our way up this way as we move along. But we work a phased in approach, you take care of it, you take care of the next one, the rock, maybe we do those together. And then take care of the rest of them in April. Then it makes sense and that we're not going to be putting our positions to make more damage, right? And the phase, I like the phase in approach, but I like the dollar amounts. It gives us the opportunity to measure how we're spending our money. And as we say, we do cap it out at 10 million and we work our way this way. And then there will be some larger projects that have more critical that we say we take off the top of it and kind of coming together in the.
May I interject a couple of things? I just want to kind of like put it in. You guys have done a lot of work.
Yes.
As far as what you have funded over a period of time. You know, this has been kind of like, I think the last big, like, what I would call a catastrophic repair that we have to do. There's a lot of major things, but you've already repaired. It was when it got started on the repair, it was a 7-year-old process for Burley Elementary School and their HVAC heating system. And you guys inherited, like, that was before you.
All this is.
Right, and then that was a pretty hefty expense. The high school boiler systems, that was a hefty expense. Carroll Elementary systems, that was a hefty expense. The rerouting of Burley Middle School, Smart Learning Academy, BES, heavy expense. The HVAC systems at Coach T, the field at the playing field at Coach T, the field at VHS, the Placitas getting their roof repaired. Like, there have been a number of major projects that you guys have funded that have been kind of done. I think this is, I mean, we have 100 different projects on here. I think this is the last one that if we just do the whole out, and I think we got to take off the idea of like, well, does that put us now at 600 on the list, and we won't get to Coach T for 20 years? I think we have to just live with that, right? We got to give Coach T
Right.
a facility that they can do implementation. And so, yeah.
Yeah.
It's taking it all, because we've had this conversation. Right, when we did the original expenditure, the conversation was, let's be strategic, let's evaluate what we have, let's make an investment, and I'm thoroughly confused about how we went from a $10,000 repair on that roof. And Mr. President cracking jokes about what are we gonna do with all the trash cans that we installed up there? The roof has to be moved. And just like when we wanted to spend money on the maintenance barn that had holes in the ceiling, it makes me really nervous to spend our voters' money on stuff that we can't take care of. And it's, I just reflect back on how many of these projects took a 30-minute fix, right? So San Flamingo didn't have internet for 3 years, and it took our high school.
Well, it was Volcom that did it.
Yeah. Well, he found it, right, within X amount of time. And so the roofing company goes on the roof with a sawzall and cuts this drain and says, well, look at that. It drains.
But I do want to clarify that wasn't the issue. That wasn't the issue just because it wasn't training. There was issues before this, which created the sag in the ceiling because of the lack of care for that roof over.
So my question is, why weren't we told that?
I don't know that. What I told you that day, and when we talked about, that wasn't on our radar. When we talked back in, this was last year's conversation about this time. Actually, we had this conversation back, I think a little farther than that.
It wasn't on our radar because we had a significant leak in the roof.
Maybe I'm using the wrong words. But what I will tell you is that there was no leaks, that we had fixed the leaks that we thought were coming in.
Right.
And to fix the roof was not something that we had said, hey, we need to fix the roof right now. It was the second time that we went back up there and we said, this is becoming an issue.
Yeah.
We need to fix it.
Yeah. When I take a step back and I look at this, it looks like a system of failure, right? I mean, when we sing the praise of our staff, this staff, they say it takes the team to make success. Well, guess what? It goes the other way too. And so I'm just really confused. How did we not see the parapet? How did we not see the water leaking into the walls? Did we pay roof care 10K to go up on the roof and then none of our folks went? Or did they not look, or did they not report it? Where did the system fail? Because I'm really scared to drop another 500K on part of the roof, just to then be told 6 months later that the rest has to be done. I just want to know that we're doing it right.
Well, I think we're headed in the right direction, and the reason why I say that, we had an FMP.
Yes,
That was
a lot of
the document that was working.
Well, we had one, but the new one.
And then when we looked at the old FMP, and compared it, and people put boots on the ground and went out and did what they needed to do. The buildings weren't even accounted for, wrong buildings and wrong sites. The FMP was just something that somebody did to check a box to turn into the state, the state said,
The
here you go.
old one.
Now we have an FMP that reflects what our district looks like. We have people that are professionals that understand it, that have been up on the roofs and identify it. I think the hard part is we're constantly peeling back the onion, we're constantly exposing the elephant in the room. And every time we do that, it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And so I would agree with you. I would agree with you from the standpoint that my thought process would be like, I think the board is collectively all on this from the mindset that we're gonna do what it takes to bring Coach D up to snuff. But let's make sure that what we're doing is what needs to be done.
Correct, yes.
I
But
think
my
that's,
concern is that our eyes and our ears haven't given us an accurate picture. Just based on a conversation we had 3 months, from 3 months ago to current. I have a hard time believing a 6-inch divot in the ceiling happened in the last 3 months. I mean, it just doesn't seem feasible to me. And when I walked into that computer lab and saw just how bad the leak was, I mean, to the point that we had multiple trash cans and duct tape. I'm no genius, right? Like I'm no genius, but I knew that with that amount of water that came through, like something here is wrong. And I'm not the guy, but we should find someone who is, right? Did that not happen? Did they not report it? I mean, I'm trying to put this, I'm trying to understand how this type of failure happened, because we can't just keep spending money on it.
Well, if I may interject, I think Mr. Roulette, you and I have had this conversation, kind of, I think there's a couple of things. I think first, we have, as a district, had to respond to so many facility needs over a period of time that we're kind of chasing rabbits sometimes. I mean, if you even look at the spreadsheet, which is the school that has the smallest number of issues? Unbelievable, right? Like, and yet, I would venture to say during the latter part of 21-22 school year, and the first part of 22-23, we probably spent 80% of our energy in that school for so many different reasons that we're on a new school, right? And now we're at Coach Team. And I think that one of the things that was assessed was we need to stop the leak now so we can actually just open up that classroom. And that's what we're trying to do while we're trying to really assess what the other issues are. Unfortunately, we didn't, you know, the issues of emerging. Mr. Darnell did bring the issue of the parapets. I think in June, we had a sit down where he brought the issues of the parapets to us and said, hey guys, these parapets are gonna fail, right? And then that there's gonna be, and I think we've talked about the cycle issues over there for a number of months now. And it was not until the July meeting or the August meeting that we really aligned when you guys said, hey, we're gonna pour funding and we're gonna assess Algo Bonus as PSCOC, that we started really saying, okay, we're gonna be able to fix this entire roof and so forth. Because at the time we we're kind of like saving money, and I think the recommendation that I had to the board in August was we can't save money if we're leaking right now for something that we don't even know exists. And I think that maybe my failure to you as a board was not making the urgency that Mr. Darnell and Mr. Duran had made to me earlier, and specifically to you, and say, hey, we probably need you to push this on the board before me, right? That's my failure to you. Knowing that it was up there, but not knowing how severe it was. And, you know, I shared with you, I got on the roof last Tuesday and I said, okay, this, you know, and that's it. Immediately, I think, Kevin, after I got in that meeting, I came to Terry, and I think Kevin was getting a bid, you know, the quote for what the overall cost would be.
Mr. President, I'm sorry. I would like to address what Mr. Lee is saying, and I want to agree with you. We have a failure system. There's no doubt. We have a failure of eyes and ears. And I think we're trying to address that, our HR department, myself, superintendent, and trying to revamp our facilities department so we don't have these failures. Because they have been, it's been a failure of our system for a long time, as you can tell. This should not have happened. This shouldn't be, I shouldn't be having inherited this. I shouldn't, this should have been taken care of 10 years ago, and it wasn't done correctly. And now that we have it here, I agree with you. It should be taken care of immediately. And it wasn't taken care of immediately in December or in April like it should have been. That's what this gentleman came on board for. Now that he's here, he's identified a lot of these things that we need to take care of. And he's able to take on those projects. And with that being said, I'm not trying to defend the maintenance department because there is failures there, definitely. But I also want you to know that, you know, with people leaving and transitioning out and things like that, we lose some knowledge of things that happen. Because things haven't been written down, they haven't been documented, with the system, failures in our system. And so with that being said, those are things that hopefully, when I can actually get to where I sit in a desk and I can actually not be on a roof repairing things and going out and chasing things like me and Kevin, and even Sean, I have Sean helping us with shovels and hammers and stuff all the time we can. Once we get to that, then we can fix those systems that need to be fixed. And I really want to fix those because that's going to make my job and my life a lot easier. It's going to make all of your jobs easier and prioritizing stuff. And I think that with Dr. James's help in trying to reorganize our facilities department, we're going to get there sooner than later. The problem is right now, it's just, you know, this looks like this huge thing that, you know, that it should have been taken care of a long time ago and probably should take care of just in the immediate, you know, past. But it's here and I know they'll fix it. We just, now that we have the funding and we know where it's going to come from, it's just a decision if you want to do it all, you don't want to do it all. And then my job is to fix the system. And I promise you that that's going to be something we're going to work. We've been working. It isn't something we're just sitting by and saying we're not doing. But it is a failure. Absolutely.
Yes, I know that the FNP alerted us to the problems.
Yes.
And we all were able to see that document and it's a living, working document. It lays out all the plans, the checks and balances that we and the administrator or the maintenance need to follow in checking all of those buildings, because that was never happening with that big, however many binders that was. And yeah, and so now we have to move forward. That's all in the past, and now we just gotta fix what's in front of us right now in that room. So when we fix this roof, it can't be done, excuse my language, half-ass.
I agree.
It needs to be made sure that the roof is leveled, the drainage works. And it gets done, because it's not right. That we just try to keep patching it and patching it.
And just with some context, my concern, I mean, I'll be very honest, when I toured the homes at the teacherage, that we were allowing teachers to move into and had begun charging them rent for. But the cabinets were not hung on the walls, the appliances were not yet installed. Because we were waiting on contractors and we were waiting on this and we were waiting on that. It just made me feel like, what are we paying for? Like, you know, I get it, things happen. I totally get it, things happen. But obviously, we're not in the loop because we should have never allowed people to move in and started charging them money. We should have, I mean, it happened just recently, again, you know, people are paying people out of their own pocket. We have administrators from our school district who are paying out of their own pocket to pay a friend to go clean a teacherage home because the contractors left it a mess so that somebody can move in. I'm just really worried that, and we can't blame that on them. That wasn't the last administration. This was this month, you know. When will that be done? And if there needs to be an investment from this board, if the issue is your team doesn't have the resources, then tell us that. Because that's dropping $13 million on these projects to have them fail in 3 years is 13 million wasted. So if we need to support you, I mean, we've said that from the start. If you know, we made that commitment to the HR department. If you need us to get a temp agency, if you need us to invest in contractors, if you need us to help you catch up, then let's do that. But as Ms. Sweeney, but I think just The half-assed approach is just costing us money. Just meeting that.
Well, I think, I'm gonna go back to how are we gonna approach it? I would, what I'd like to see Superintendent Montano, and I think the board would, was the quotes that Mr. Darnell and his team believe that they have. And right when they think they have them, then maybe look again and make sure that we're not missing anything. And I think you'll have the full support to get the funding that you need to bring in the people to do the work that needs to be done, so that we won't really overcoach you next month, we'll really over another. So, when I say that jokingly, but at the same time, seriously, I know it's tough for you guys to sit there and take a beating from us. And but none of it is personal, all of it is about student outcomes, all of it is about changing and moving the needle. And so don't feel that way, don't feel like you're being singled out, you're being chastised, you're being told anything, because that's not the case. We all understand how big of a problem there is, and we're here to collectively work together to fix it. That's what this group's about, that's what this Berlin Public Schools, the district is about. So, you know,
President, is there, I know that on the last work session, this was actually on the agenda. And we moved it to this next meeting time. But if it so moves the board, can we set a specific date to just do this, and that's specifically to talk through all of this? Because like I said, this was on our work session, and we barely had a forum, so we kind of pushed this discussion back. So I'd like to make a motion to set a specific work session date before the other, just to make up for what we were supposed to do the last time. So.
And I second.
But Mr. President, before we go into that forum, and to be on the behalf of Terry on his behalf, please remember we inherited a lot of that stuff, and also I don't think that your comment about cleaning with the contractors left behind, that wasn't maintenance, that was Miss Little Gardner's project, and that should have been overseen by that person. Did we pay those contractors the money that we shouldn't have paid if the job wasn't done correctly?
the teachers,
Mhm.
all of those things, I think there's a lot of things happening here, folks, there's a lot. And I agree with you guys, if Superintendent Montano, if we scheduled a special meeting without putting a burden on your staff. And do we need to schedule a special meeting? What is it in your vision? What's your vision for how we collectively correct the issue at Cody? Can we take action and so do that tonight, or do
We don't need any action on that, right? This is not necessarily an action. We wanted to get the temperature of the board. It pretty much is clear that the board is saying, move forward with using the resources that we have to fully fix the Coach D City. And essentially that includes the roof, the parapets, the stucco. And if the board is all in agreement,
and the teachers, let's finish that.
We need to finish that. We started that project, like Paul said, and Ms. Sweeney half-assed. Why are we doing that? We need to stop that. We should have that should have been a complete project.
I'd still like to have that discussion in the work session, and because I think there's a lot more to it. Than what, we can't make that, I can't tonight make that collective decision right now. There's too many question marks for me. Right now, but what I'm looking
One
at.
of the things that we have to remember, guys. That our job is to create policy, to set up the funding and to manage Mr. Montano. Our job is not, and I'll say it again, our job is not to get in the weeds every time we turn around. And right now, we're getting in the weeds. We're headed that direction to go in the weeds. I think we need to fund the projects, we need to clean up the projects, and I'm not, you know me, I'm a get it done person, and I want to give the people the resources to do the things that they need to do. But I think, and we can absolutely get together and visit 10 more times about all this stuff, but I think at the same time, us talking we're not the ones that are doing the bids, we're not the ones that are doing the RFPs, we're not the ones collecting, we're not the ones meeting, but we're not, we come to this meeting once a month. And we get some information and then, so I think, and I'm trying to. I just want us to do our role. And to hold District Montano accountable. And that's what our role is, and so we can get together, what I'd like to do at the next meeting, that the motion to have a meeting, I'd love to see this critical list, yes, go ahead.
I want to, yes, to coach to get, needs to get fixed, everything that I mentioned needs to get fixed, but the meeting was for looking at the other priorities. That was the discussion that was supposed to have had at the last work session. And Mr. Martaño and bringing to us the critical need of Cochiti. I mean, that needs to, if we don't know what the weather's, we can't predict the weather. It could rain tomorrow, all weekend, and snow in November. So we need to make sure that that school is protected before all of that weather starts coming. But we do need to also then prioritize the other areas, and I know that Mr. Martaño sent us the survey, but we can't really, I mean, we could look at what we're doing, but I feel that we need to kind of look and talk about each of the sections. So, I mean, I don't know if people have time to do like a quick work session, like next week, or how quick we could get one done. So to make up, like I said, to make up for that last work session, that was President.
Yes, please.
I respectfully, disagree that we're getting in the weeds here.
I agree.
We are the fiscal agent of the funds that this community entrusts with. And I think maybe I was misunderstood, maybe I wasn't clear. What I'm saying is, I don't feel that we even know where our money is going. And I'm saying I'm happy to spend it because the community has given it to us to do just that. But I'm gonna be honest, that I even hesitate to say that I support this plan to move forward with Cochiti, because I just want to see that there was a little more intentionality placed behind it. Because that's what we got when it was, hey, Root Care's coming and fix it, and we're good now. And so it's not that I don't care how you get the quote, I don't care who you get the quote from. I just want to know that when we say yes, you may spend my tax dollars and my neighbors, that it's going to yield something for them, so that when we go back and ask for a couple more million in 2026, we can look those guys straight faced and say, we do meaningful things with your money that educates your children. And I just don't, I look at the teachers and I'm like, where'd that money go? I mean, there's paint on the walls, there's, but it just didn't get finished. It just didn't get finished. So that's all I'm trying to say. Yes.
Mr. Deland, I'm totally agreement with you, and that's kind of where I was headed with my comments. And why we should take a little bit of a step back, because I'm not quite sure that after everything I've heard tonight, and I stayed pretty quiet over here for once, I think that happened, but only because the thought process in my mind is going, hold on, wait a minute here, let's to use your words, let's do this strategically. But that involves not only what's happening at Coach B, and now we have a new situation with teachers that we have to take into consideration. It's a lot to be thrown at our plate as much as it's being thrown at their plate. And we do have a fiduciary responsibility. That is our role. I don't think we're getting down deep in the weeds. We want to make sure that we're spending taxpayers' money correctly. And do what we're doing just to do it. I have a real quick question in terms of timeline, because I think I heard October for the PSCOC. When in October, and we have a general picture whether we get the waiver.
PSCOC will be, I think it's the third or fourth week of October. I don't know what their scheduled date is. And then we have to get on the agenda, and then they'll make a determination after they meet with us, and we'll be notified in assembly.
I think that's gonna help drive these decisions of what's urgent, what's not urgent, and what can we implement. I had this discussion. It's interesting and that type of thing. It's really hanging over our head. I'll be honest and hanging over our head. We've made some promises for the last 4 or 5 years, even before I came on this board. And it's going to be difficult for us to go back and say, We're not gonna do that anymore. And then, without that said, right, but that has nothing to do with, you know, elections and that kind of stuff. Mr. Roy and I are up for election. But these individuals are gonna have to answer those type of things, right? Especially from Algodones resident, the police are. And, so I don't wanna totally discount that and say it's gonna hinge on whether we get the waiver or not, and if we don't get the waiver, adios, guys, we're gonna take our 13, 14 million and spend it somewhere else. And, you know, and not consider, not consider Algodones, even if it's some of these fixes that that have been identified by the staff. Because it may come down to that, where we might have to decide, Algodones, you're gonna get this fixed, because you're not gonna get the new school. So I just think we gotta work through that and be strategic about it, to the word. So that's kind of where I'm coming. So I'm all for making the time if we can. I know we're all busy to meet as soon as possible to go through that. Keep this timeline in mind. But we have to develop two different plans and two pathways here.
Exactly.
If we get the waiver, create more power to us, and then what we want to do. We've been talking about that for a long time. We have that FMP. And now we have some other things that have just kind of crept on. One of the biggest concerns I have are just the relationship between what was on the FMP and what was not. So when we start asking questions about what we paid for, I have to look at the vendor of the FMP too. Like, what did you not see? Yeah, you know? We can point fingers all day long,
Exactly.
but that's not what we're here. We're not here to do that. We're in defensive, to use an athletic analogy. I mean, you're all coaches here. We always go into it's a defensive, preventive maintenance mode. We know what we got, and it's not good in a lot of cases. So how do we correct it? And you got to correct it within a timely manner because the clock is ticking. And we have to say the clock is ticking. It is for us. And you know, when I first came on the board and I heard everything that we needed to fix. And then I thought, well, that's not so bad, you know? Then I took one look, which one kind of let me take that darn binder home, and I'm going, what the, you know, is going on here? What do we got going on here? This is just insurmountable. Now we got a new FMP. I have a lot more confidence in this FMP because it helps to give us some good direction. I think it's missing some pieces. That's okay. It's a living document, like Mr. said. We'll correct it. Let's go along. So I seconded the motion for a work session to specifically just do this. We whiteboard. We sit there and we say, okay, we've got this project, we got this project. We know it costs this amount of money. I like your idea, Mr. President, about setting the cap. Let's just say we're gonna spend X amount of dollars, let's start looking backwards.
Yes.
Well, and with that. I'm completely, so there's a motion for a meeting. What works for you guys?
The earliest we will do it would be the Monday.
Right.
Thursdays are
And while everyone's looking at their calendar,
We could do one Tuesday or Wednesday, we have to post tomorrow.
Mr. Goulet, I have a question.
Oh, yes.
In regards to this facility, to the current criticality.
Is that stage or?
Yeah,
So June.
How can we proceed forward
so Tuesday includes weekends.
to address the because I'm not so sure that
Tuesday will work best.
the meeting
I have something Wednesday.
Thursday, there's gonna be new light radiators in Central State. So how would you like
That
to,
has to be in the afternoon. for me.
It has to be in the afternoon.
what is your thought process?
Yeah, so my thoughts,
Specifically the coach.
right, for that section of the roof that needs.
I'm, if it's the section, if it's the entire project, if it's the parapets, if it's the new roof. What is your thought process there?
I mean, my thought process, I was again, not an expert in this by any means, but what I do want to know is it sounds like we have two options. We have kind of this liquid one that can be done in warmer months or this shorter term, you know. How long will this shorter term stuff last and what is the care of that? Can we even?
And the warranty.
Right, yeah. Can we provide that? PPO, it's like 20 to 30 years.
So I think Terry, you can talk a little bit about that.
So, and then actually probably Kevin can do more than that, But I will let you know that the TPO that they want to put on there will last, it's 20-year warranty. If we do the roof care, the smart care, what it's called, it's $200,000 a year. And what it would do is $200,000 a year. Every roof that Roof Care has worked on, which they've worked on 5 other projects in our district right now, they will manage for us every year. They will come in, they'll clean all the gutters, they'll make sure if there's any leaks, that's already in the warranty. So for that $200,000, to me, that's a huge and smart investment after you get these problems fixed. Because now they come up every year, they're not every year, they come up, is it twice or 3 times a year? It's twice a year. Twice a year, they clean out your gutters, they check all of your parapets, they check all the stuff that we have neglected over the years. They will do that, and it's on them. That 200,000, it's not on them, we're paying the 200,000, but that's the insurance, right? That's just like the extended warranty on your car, right? And that's exactly what this would do. And I think, if we get Roof Care to go up there and fix it with the 20-year warranty that we're talking about, the actual fluid applied, I think has like a 30-year warranty on it. Or a 25-year maybe, but it's actually a better system. It just has to be applied in a warmer climate than what we're getting into. That's why I say the TPO would be the best place to go now, and the immediate fix of that area. And then in the springtime, let us come back with the fluid applied and put it everywhere else. And then if we go with that system, BES, they did that. They did SLA. They did over the top of the warehouse. They've taken care of Placitas. They will cover all those now. Coach T can do it. They will cover all those areas for us, with that $200,000.
Do we have a current preventive maintenance program with them now for the 200K? Are we paying that now for the schools that we have under their care?
No.
So they'll include it if we enter into that.
Right. There's a warranty on the work they've done,
Right.
but they're not gonna come and check it every year or every 6 months. They're just waiting for us to call them and say there's a failure, then they'll come and they'll look at it, determine if it's their failure or not. If we go with this $200,000 per year, they automatically come. They look for failures right away. If there's anything that happens, they fix it. It's on, they take care of that right.
And if they miss it,
And if they miss it, it's still on them. We're paying them $200,000 to fix it. So if you just have a pinhole leak and you got some ceiling tiles, they fix that. If the roof collapses like it did it, it's computer lab, they still fix that. That's on them with our $200,000. And if it runs in more than 200,000, then, 200,000, we're out there.
Will it cover the cost of damage to the equipment?
I don't know.
That's an IT guy, he said, if that screwed around and.
I don't know that, but I'm sure that's something that Coach Duran or Kevin is looking.
Anyway.
you guys think that we could have a solid cost estimate? And with you for Thursday's meeting for the parapets, the roof, I think you wanted the stucco, the parapets, the roof, and then I guess the April roof. Cause you said it was just as good and it's a lot cheaper to do.
It's better. It's actually better. The fluid applied is a better way to go.
So my thought process is if we can have that. And then maybe possibly the top 3 projects, meaning that Coach and Chief, everything they just said is not the roof. Top 1, the stucco 2, parapets 3, meaning Coach T, all that's bundled in and that's number 1. Then we end up with whatever number 2 is in your guys' perspective. Then number 3, that way we can just basically get some guidance from you folks and then directly. And fund, and then at the same time, Dr. James will be looking at the budget and making sure that we're good to do all these things. I know he's always keeping us, what's the term you use? Solvent. So he's always keeping us solvent, and so that we're. But that's kind of.
Blood pressure is going
Blood pressure is small, but not so.
Thank you. I think the question was if we can have that prepared for you, and I'll refer that to Kevin because I don't want to say that I can promise something like that.
So what I would say is, one of the things that we have to keep in mind, we just sent out an outline of the work that needs to be done immediately, and it's that older part of the roof. It includes the computer lab and some of the older parts around it. The biggest issue we're gonna have is that it has the old gravel roof on it, which you won't see that in any other area on the roof of Coach T. Once we do that portion, along with the parapets and the stucco, I think that will be our biggest investment in that entire roof. I will work on getting the quotes right away, but that's when we talked about breaking it down and getting the segments. And I hope I'm not answering the question. If that's the area we're gonna concentrate on, which I think it needs to be and should be. That'll be the biggest part of that project, probably the most time consuming, probably the biggest investment. But that's where we're having these problems. And if we decide later on we want to do the fluid applied, it's going to be much cheaper, but the rest of that isn't as critical. And I know we're talking about red and blue and all this, but I do know we need to do that first part. And one of the things that Roof Care asked, if you can, let's get the stucco and the parapets done, whether we do them or somebody else does the parapets before we do the roof, because they don't want somebody coming on after the fact and being on the roof and leaving materials on there and in other words, causing leaks, causing more leaks. So I'll get it done, whatever I need to do. And I understand, Mr. Gurley, I understand because I had this conversation with the principal out there several times. Whatever I need to do, I'll do it. But just understand, once we have the funds, we'll run with it and we'll get it done to the best of our ability.
So, Mr. Durant, can I ask a real quick question?
So, a couple of things, and I want to make sure that we're kind of aligned. Very clear, the board is saying move forward. We don't need a formal action going on that. We have the funding, we can retrieve the general obligation funding to move forward with it. So my concern is, I don't want to overpromise and underdeliver because I feel like you addressed that, okay? I don't know that we can get a quote by a Tuesday or Wednesday or Thursday.
That's a huge.
And so what I'd like to just say is, we have very clear charge to get the roof, the Coach T, and the critical part of the roof, which if you actually look at the picture, it's very separate than the rest of the roof. It's actually, there's actually separating walls. They're kind of like parapets.
If you
that
could
separate from the rest.
If you could pull up that, I sent you an email yesterday, if you remember, and it actually.
Well, let me just, because if we're, the 12th is our next work session. This decision is already very clearly telling us, let's move forward. Kevin's gonna get the bids, we're gonna actually operationalize this as soon as the bids are coming in and so forth. With Roof Care as a CS contractor. And then all of the other issues are not issues that are emerging that we have to, like, you're solving it next Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday isn't actually gonna change it from solving it on the 12th the following Thursday when we're already scheduled for a work session. Does that make sense?
Sure.
And so I'm just trying to say, like,
Yeah. So my question is really straightforward. What's the cost of doing it in one type of material, and what's the cost of doing it in the other type of material and get the whole darn thing done?
If we do the fluid applied, which we can't do till April now because of the cold weather, it's a little over 800,000. That's just the roof. That's not the parapets, that's not the stucco, that's just the roof.
Okay.
If we decide to go with the TPO, which we can do immediately. And we decide to do the entire roof again without the stucco and without the parapets, it's slightly over 500,000.
No, it's actually reverse of that.
It's the other-
So the TPO, if we do that TPO right now, we went over, it's gonna be $800,000.
If we did the whole thing.
If we did the whole entire roof, that's
Okay.
not including parapets and that's not including stucco, that's just the roof itself, it's $800,000. If we wait until April, we put the fluid applied, which is actually a better system, because what you're doing is you're putting a little thinner TPO on there, but then you're putting the fluid over the top of it to seal all of it. The way you do TPO now, you lay it out and you put a glue and you heat it up and then you put the two seams together, right? But it still has a seam. When you put the fluid applied, the fluid goes over the top because there's no seam, right? It's over the top. So the fluid applied is a better way to go. You gotta do it in the spring though. It's less, it's a little more cost effective, cost savings for us as well. But we can't wait till April for the roof that we're talking about. So if I can give you a suggestion one more time, and then just, let you guys, my suggestion would be, if we fix the parapets, you don't have to do the stucco work right now either, because you're fixing the parapets, which the water's going down, cracking more of the stucco. You can get to the stucco whenever it gets a little warmer, maybe, or when we get some time, when kids are out of school, so because we're gonna have scaffolding and everything around. The roof has to be fixed, addressed immediately, and the parapets. If we do the roof that's on that area, that you're probably gonna run you about 200,000 right now, but you're gonna save in cost when you go in April and put the fluid apply on the other, plus you have another 5-year extent warranty on that area. And that's the bigger part of the school. We're not getting leaks in it right now. There's no, we don't have any issue with it, but it is gonna fail eventually.
200,000 for the patch, let's just call it.
It's probably gonna be around that.
Around.
We'll give you an estimate.
And then if you do the parapet at the same time, right? Which puts the stucco and the roof off. What does that cost? We put those two.
I don't have well, roughly you're looking at about $250,000 for all of that, probably with the parapets and with the roof.
Somewhere, we're gonna be looking at $1 million. I mean, you
Stucco with the stucco, absolutely.
stuck with everything, right? You're gonna be looking at $1 million this way.
Absolutely.
Maybe a little bit over $1 million if you do the TPO, because that's already changed down 800,000, right? Then you got the parapets and all that on top of that, so it might be 1.2, like, or 1.1, like it stays in here, right? So I like that approach, the other approach, so we can talk more about it during the work session, but it gives me a general idea. Now we've got some options here. Let's see, what do we take care of right now? Let's take care of that patch area, let's take care of the parapets. Those are could cause us the biggest damage down the road. Could they not?
That's what I would say.
So go ahead. Say it.
Mr. Darnell.
Oh, where those
Is, I would encourage looking inside, if you will. Like, how's the foundation? Do we have damage that's already occurred? Because the last thing we want to do is do the roof, do the parapets, do the stucco, and then we find out that we have a structural issue because of the water that's leaked over the last 10-15 years. Because of those problems. So I would just make sure that we, if we could figure that out, because I think that's where John was actually going. He's like, yeah, you got your resources, you got whatever, but let's just, I don't have X-ray vision. I don't know who would do that, if there's a structural engineer involved, how that would happen. Or maybe you guys have already done that and that's past us. I would just encourage that to happen.
Because that is old.
So we've been working on 2 weeks now to get a structural engineer.
That piece is not old.
Real quickly, to address your concerns, that is something that they've already been working on. So
We've been working on 2 weeks to chase. We've been working on 2 weeks now to chase down a structural engineer. Structural engineers that we contacted first, that Kevin contacted. They don't do small town stuff, right? It's a small town for them. They're doing bridges, they're doing airports, they're doing, those type of things. So we finally found a mom and pop's kind of, I'm gonna call mom and pops, but mom and pop's organization that'll actually come and look at it. So we've got them now where we can actually find it. And we had to go through several agencies to finally find this structural engineers that'll come out, that'll actually do that work. And so we have them come out and they're gonna be looking at the roof to make sure that it's safe. First of all, which me and Mr. Duran have been up there 2 separate times inside the ceiling. They'll actually look at it, and just for your knowledge, it is actually wood. Trusses. They're not metal. Everybody is metal, right? Especially in a building of that size. That tells you how old the building is, right? They're wood, but they're in good shape. I mean, I've looked at them, I've seen them, but an engineer needs to. And is when we have them out there, we'll actually have them doing some tests on the walls or in those areas to make sure that everything's structurally sound. We didn't see anything with the actual foundation at that site. There is foundational stuff at Asitos and at Automobiles, but those are other stories to come later. So
That's next week.
that's next. But with this being said, I still suggest you that you let us move forward. Let superintendent move forward on us doing the parapets and that area of the building, the roof, and that'll eliminate the immediate problem. Then we can finish the roof in April with that fluid apply, which is a better product. save us a little money. And then also at that time, I think we need to find some gap, maybe spring break, something like that, where we can actually do the stucco. And because if we put the parapets, you're actually saving the stucco. It's not gonna crack too much more because the water is not gonna be seeping down in it and ice won't form and create cracks.
And
just
just
as a
the last thing I'd say is back to Mr. Gutierrez's comment. So I'm all for the insurance if that's the best ROI. But I'm only for the insurance if we have a business process that's going to make sure that those guys come out and that someone's calling them, someone's booking them, because it's great if we, if we send them a check every year for $200,000 and then we don't ever call them and all of us change. And the next group of folks doesn't know who to call or that there's even insurance on the roof. So that business process has to be in place and it has to be fluid. It's got to become a culture. And we've talked about doing that. And that's a whole nother animal that you guys will have to put in place as well. So I think the roof care is important, but I think one of the questions I
do have one comment.
Yes.
I know you mentioned that roof care or whomever you're looking at could do the roof, the parapets and the stucco.
No,
The roof and the.
not the stucco.
Not the stucco. Okay, I was just.
That we'd have to get another
Okay,
contract
all
for.
right. I just-
They were just talking about lumping it together and it'd be two separate.
Yeah, I was wondering if there was a company that could do all three, that
We-
they could do like a.
We looked into
Like
a
do it
general
now,
contractor.
pay for this and then have them come in and. finish
So we
it.
looked at a general contractor who could do exactly what you're talking about. The problem is, or it seems like a problem. When you get a general contractor goes out and gets the same contractors.
And you make
And
some
then they
profit.
give you enough, they just increase
They're not.
their price, right?
But
So they're not
that's
doing the
what
work, and it's like
subcontractors
they're subcontracting out to those exact same people that we're contracting to right now, so. And a little bit more, but I think if we were doing a big project like working on Aguilas or whenever we decide to do Aguilas, we're gonna need a general contractor for that. Because they're gonna have more knowledge about what's going on, subcontractors.
Yes.
So
And any more questions guys, with regards to you or discussion with regards to the FMP priorities and coaching?
No, but Mr. President, I think that's some housekeeping to do, so we have a motion and a second on for the meeting, and we can take a vote. Let's just clean that up and take a vote and get that out of the way, and then I don't have any questions regarding what we're just talking about, but we can clean that up in minutes and stuff.
I put a motion to
Right.
have a meeting, but if this can wait until the work session on the 12th, I think we're good, but just making sure that everyone agrees to be at that meeting because work needs to get done.
So the work session, maybe we should start a little earlier. It sounds like it's gonna be pretty detailed.
The work session is already set up,
Yeah.
Well,
Okay.
so you're amending your motion? You're trying, so.
Said those folks can't get here or whatever until that date, then that should stick with what we already have. And I'm being that someone wants to arrive earlier and do some of this work, so.
So am
May I ask a clarifying question? So,
Sure.
just want to be clear that the work session is going to be kind of a follow-up more detail of what this conversation was today on the entire district. The quotes are coming in. And we're going to mobilize on those regardless of the work session or so forth. There's no requirement. You guys are giving us marching order to get the back value. For the coverage and the quotes to you.
I agree.
So I'm not bringing quotes to the work session that day. We're bringing this stuff and.
And other article, and if you have some sort of
We'll update this.
estimation
We'll
on
update
the
this.
cost of what's critical, that would be helpful for us.
We'll update all of that.
So with regard to the spreadsheet. So I think some of the work or the housekeeping work that your team will have to do is we have the list, we have high priority and then we have the next level. We'll turn that into, we'll add a third of critical and then what? And just so that we have a better idea so that we can prioritize what the board wants at the work session. How would you guys like to see the information so that so we can say, what are our priorities? What are we gonna fund immediately? What are we gonna get marching orders on? So do you want to see the top three? And then in 3 months, come back and see the top three at that time, because I don't think, for me, it's a living, breathing situation. And I think the information that we're gonna act on the top three now, we can move. And then by the time the next three come in 3 months or 4 months. The second three probably might not even be the top three anymore. There's something else that popped up that we didn't know about, or the boiler failed somewhere, or something along those lines happened. So if we get the top three, we give marching orders. I'm just trying to figure out what you guys want to see. And I don't want to overspend ranking our top 10 and then say, go do this. And then we have to change it. So I'm just saying, for the sake of time, we see 3 of them. And then we reconvene and we make this work.